Hey world, it's Wednesday the 27th of May 2020. It's about 6:30 in the evening UK time, and I had a visit last night from the Grim Reaper, and he was after me. I had to fight him off with my vacuum cleaner, with my Hoover. Talk about Dyson with death. Whew. Anyway, enough of that. We're on week 842 of lockdown. Oh, sorry, week 8 in the UK, and everyone's getting really hacked off because no one can travel anywhere unless you're a member of the ruling elite, of course, which is a different story. Just thought I'd do something a bit different. Before I do, just want to mention one thing. I've had a few emails in the last couple of days around people who have said, look, if you're so good, how come you never predicted the pandemic? And I would refer people to a video I did on, I didn't look for this, someone forwarded it to me. A video I did on September the 26th, 2017, called 2020-intro. I believe it's still up there. Should be easy to find. Where in that video I mentioned how in the first 6 months of 2020 there was going to be mass unemployment, a lot of mass frustration, and I did use the word pandemic 2.5 years ago about this time. God knows how I managed to get there, but I did. Anyway, pandemic this, pandemic that, we're all hacked off with it. Here's something new, something different. I've talked in the past about the long-term future. When I say long term, I don't mean this year or next. I mean years down the line. I've talked about it in terms of the development of the age of Aquarius. I've talked about it in terms of the change in global politics, global borders. Tonight, well, in a few hours from now, Elon Musk's SpaceX mission will take off from Cape Canaveral in Florida. It will take off at 4:33 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, East Coast time, which is 9:33 p.m. UK time, 10:33 p.m. European time. Thing is, there's pretty clear skies out there at the moment, and anyone in their back gardens who's able to get out there about 15 minutes after launch in Europe should be able to see the rocket blasting across the sky. It will have the appearance of a reasonably sized star, and it will be going at quite some speed in a straight line across the sky. Should take somewhere between 2 to 4 minutes to traverse the sky, and this will happen around 9:45 to 9:55 UK time tonight. So that should be quite spectacular. So if you've got a telescope, if you've got kids who want to stay up that late, it's a bit of history here because it's the first time that a private space enterprise has blasted astronauts into space. They're going to the space station, and Elon Musk is a really interesting guy. He's a little bit barking, a little bit bonkers, but at the same time he's a bit of a genius. He's born with the Sun square Uranus. He's very futuristic. He wants to put a settlement on Mars, and I can see him doing it in the space of his lifetime. When you think this is a guy who's now behind SpaceX, before that he originated Tesla, before that he was one of the founding members of PayPal. He's very much a self-made man, and he's going to be of interest in many years to come. Thing is, over the coming years, there's a lot of big planet changes in the sky. Saturn's going to move into Aquarius at the end of this year. Next year, Saturn, the planet of structure and order and tradition, will be in Aquarius, the sign of the future. Uranus, the planet of the future and change, will be in Taurus, the sign of groundedness, down to earth, pragmatism, money, and they will be square each other. So next year it's pretty sure that the global economy is going to fall through the floor. I expect house prices to drop, stock markets to drop, prices of everything that drop. We are heading into a global depression next year. It'll start towards the end of this year. Mind you, we've got to get through the end of this year first. However, long term, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, Pluto will start moving into Aquarius. It will be there properly in 5 years' time. 5.5 years from now, Uranus will move into Gemini. 6 years from now, Neptune will move into Aries. So will Saturn 5 years from now. So 6 years from now, we're going to have Saturn and Neptune in Aries. We're going to have Pluto in Aquarius. We're going to have Uranus in Gemini. Thing is, all of these signs, Aquarius, Gemini, Aries, they're all masculine signs. You've got Aquarius and Gemini, air signs. You've got Aries, fire signs. And it's going to be a really big shift. At the moment, we've got the triple conjunction, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, in earth signs. And if you go back 30 years, you know, Saturn conjunct Uranus, 1988, 89, Saturn conjunct Neptune, 1989, 1990, Uranus conjunct Neptune, 1992, 93. All of this was happening in Capricorn. Now we've got Jupiter conjunct Saturn, Jupiter conjunct Pluto, Saturn conjunct Pluto, all in Capricorn. Go back a lot longer, go back to the start of the 80s, we had Saturn conjunct Pluto in early Scorpio. Go back even further, go back to the 60s, we had Uranus conjunct Pluto in Virgo. All of these big conjunctions have been taking place in earth and water signs. But 5-6 years down the line, the next set of really big planetary alignments are all taking place in fire and air signs. And the difference is that earth and water signs tend to be more reactive. Fire and air signs tend to be more proactive. So I suggest that 5 or 6 years down the line, those of us who are still around, and then translate that as you like, are going to be entering a time where there's going to be a much greater positive outlook on the future. And one of the ways in which I expect this to be translating into the real world is that of developing much more stimulating, exciting and proactive ways of space travel. There will be, by that time, the regular people in space beyond the space station. There'll be tourists in space. That's already pretty much happening. There will be not just tourists in space tourism, there will be the potential for settlement on the moon, and long term down the line, 20-25 years, I would hope there'll be settlements on Mars. That's Elon Musk's trip, not mine. I may not live to see that. But it does seem that with the acceleration of technology, with artificial intelligence kicking in, especially in terms of off-planetary patterns, there's going to be a lot of exciting developments. Now, of course, some of it is going to be corporate. There's already certain unnameable politicians investing in plans to mine the asteroid belts, plans to mine the moon, who think only of profit and greed, but that's their stuff and that's dying out. Next year is going to put paid to a lot of that type of attitude. The future is bright. I don't want to be irrationally optimistic. I don't want to sort of try and deflect people from the current misery that we're all going through. But for those of you with children, whether they're sort of 2 or 3 or whether they're 25, you know, the people who are still around in 5 or 6 years' time, we're going to be seeing the start of a whole new chapter of human history in terms of a blend, if you like, of technology with spirituality, a blend of imagination and machinery, if such a thing is possible. AI and robotics are certainly a big field of development over the coming few years, both in medicine, space exploration, it's going to be a really interesting time. And once we're past 2026, once Saturn and Neptune have firmly established themselves in Aries, we're going to see so many innovative, original, new ideas coming through. I will only be in my early 70s by then. I am so looking forward to this. Catch you later, world. Bye.